In my last video, I graded 4 sourdough loaves of bread and which one was my favorite, the winner, and the 5 things that I look for to determine the perfect sourdough loaf of bread. In this video, I'm going to cut into each and every single one of them and talk about the crumb. That is such a big one when it comes to sourdough loaves of bread, and that is technically something that should be in the winning factor when determining the winner for sourdough loaves of bread. But I just wanted that video to be all on the outside and what I did differently on the temperature and the time and how that affected the loaves of bread. If you haven't seen that one, don't forget to go watch it. And don't forget to like and subscribe this channel for more recipes and videos like this, so that way I can keep doing this because it's so much fun.
In baking, the crumb refers to the inside of the bread, the soft part you can see when you slice it open. It's everything in between the top crust and the bottom crust. Why do bakers really care about the crumb? Well, it helps you understand how well your dough fermented, how it was shaped, and if it was baked properly. Hydration level and structure is the texture where the crumb looks moist and well fermented. The shine on the inside suggests good gelatinization of starch. The open crumb means it has a good range of bubble sizes from small to medium, not wildly irregular or over glossy. Well fermentation is displayed on the evenness of the distribution of holes, and signs of strength that the crumb shows strong internal structure without collapsing under its own weight. No dents or gummy lines or underbaked areas. Shaping and handling shows no large tunnels under the crust. This tells us that our shaping was well done. And lastly, that nice ear on top is a good sign of oven spring and scoring.
Now's the time to cut into each one. So let's start with number 1, which is the kind of the burnt one. This is the first one that we baked. So let's cut into it and see how it turned out. Not terrible. All right, loaf number 1 doesn't look too bad. So this is loaf number 1, the one that was a little bit burnt on the outside, but the inside looks absolutely beautiful. It is so soft to touch, and the crumb is nice and open. Lots of big open pockets here. Oh, the smell is amazing. Wow, so good. So the crumb is determined by the density of the loaf of bread. So as you can see in this one, there is some large holes and some little holes, which is good. Large holes throughout the entire bread means it was a very high hydration, and very small dense holes means it was a little bit low hydration, like 65%. 75% hydration is kind of what I usually go for because it kind of helps prevent from over fermenting, I think, and overproofing it from the bulk fermentation the day before. But I also look at, this is where the ear is so perfect when it comes to having that height. It really kind of gives you this height here. It also, we're looking at the parameter of the loaf, so it is burned on the bottom, which is kind of a bummer, but I do look at the very bottom of these loaves to determine if I baked it all the way through. Usually this is where it looks a little gummy, so that means it probably needed to be baked a little bit longer or at higher temperature. All those can play a factor, but this just looks very beautiful, very aerated. Aside from the bottom being burnt, I would say that this is a beautiful loaf of bread. All right, so now I'm gonna set that off to the side, and let's cut into loaf number 2. Loaf number 2, which was my winner in the last video, so let's see how it turned out. I honestly think this is the best loaf of bread I've ever made. When I push it down, it just bounces up so, look at that, like this is the best. Okay, so the crumbs are pretty even throughout, like as in compared to the last one, where we can see how number 1 had a little bit inconsistencies where it had a large air hole or a couple air holes, but this one really is even throughout. It's very spongy, very soft. It smells like beautiful sourdough loaf. The ear is absolutely stunning on this one, which is why I picked it the winner for the exterior. So I had a feeling that the inside was great.
This loaf shows us a variety of hole sizes, meaning that it's a semi-open crumb. Not all small holes and not all large holes. The fermentation cues shows Crumb has volume, not explosive holes. It's not gummy at the top and it's not gummy at the bottom. It just means that our dough proved the perfect amount of time. The crumb openness is perfectly balanced. The cluster of large holes on the right side could mean that my shaping wasn't quite even, but that's okay. It looks great. The bounce back of this loaf shows that the structure is strong enough to bounce back to its original shape. And I mean, look at this. I squeeze it down, and then when I release, it just springs back to normal. I'd say this is a winner.
Loaf number 3. Let's see how loaf number 3 came out on the inside. And cutting it the same way that I cut the other one. Wow. She came out so perfect. The inside of this dough is spectacular. So one thing I've learned is the temperature and the duration really affects the exterior a lot more than anything else. I mean, in all the loaves, so far the interior has been perfect. The crumb is all of the pocket holes from the fermentation and from shaping stayed intact. So whenever I let it sit overnight in my fridge, they were still there. They were still working. The gluten was working and the gluten was strengthening. And then when I took it out of my refrigerator and put it in the oven, it stayed that way. I don't know if you've ever baked a loaf of sourdough bread and as soon as you took it out of the refrigerator and she just went flat. And you're like, well, that's not gonna work out. You just know it's not gonna work out and it doesn't. But this, like when you put it on the counter and you put it on that mat and you score it, you can kind of tell if it's going to keep its shape or not.
So let's take a closer look at this crumb for loaf number 3. The crumb is tighter than loaf number 2, but still nicely open and soft looking. There's a beautiful variety of small to medium holes throughout, and this is a more even and cohesive structure, especially in the center. This is the kind of crumb you often get when baking at a more moderate and even temperature, without lowering your temp when you remove the lid. There's less large hole drama, which some bakers prefer, making it ideal for slicing, sandwiches, and toast. Right here, I think that this is a beautiful loaf with a lot of variety of small to medium sized holes. And as you can see, it sprang and bounced right back. I really think that this one is a beautiful loaf of bread.
Wow, not totally sure which one's gonna be the winner yet, but let's cut into bread number 4 and see how this one came out on top, if it comes out on top or not. Oh, wow. Another beautiful interior of this loaf. She is stunning, very much so the same as the others. And it's a lot more squishy and soft than the others since I did bake it for less time. Again, not a lot of time, just 4 minutes less than the other.
The last loaf I baked at 450 degrees Fahrenheit at roughly 12 minutes with the lid on and 13 minutes with the lid off, making it a shorter bake time overall. Top texture is slightly gummy. Combined with the lack of pronounced ear, it's likely that the top never reached the right internal structure before the crust had set. A gummy top doesn't always mean that it's underproofing. In fact, it could be a case of bake time plus the crust setting issue here. By reducing the bake time, it did shave off critical minutes needed to fully cook off internal moisture and allow starches to form up. Loaf number 4 is still a successful bake in the end, but it clearly shows what happens when the bake is just a touch short.
So out of all 4 of these loaves, which one would you determine the winner on the inside? Which crumb took the crown? The crown of the crumb. So I would say loaf number 2 definitely takes the crown of the crumb because it has more consistency with the pockets than the others. Even though the bottom is just a touch darker than what I would like, I still am okay with that. The reason I determined this one as the winner is because of this ear here. It allowed for more of the pockets and for it to expand a little bit more. Okay, since I've determined that loaf number 2 takes the crown of the crumb, I'm going to try that one in particular. And I personally like to drizzle Maldon salt on top of my butter and my bread. I do think that salt is such a great touch. Okay, let's try it. Oh, that is so delicious. I always take such a big bite for these videos, but wow. I like all the big pockets so my butter can go in them. It's so soft, it's so airy and fluffy and light. This is an amazing sourdough loaf of bread. Well, I'm going to finish my slice of bread, but thanks for watching this video. My name's Priscilla, this is King Your Kitchen. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next video, and I will see you there. See you later. So good.